call a meeting to order. Vision is promoting lifelong learners through real-world experiences. We give it the roll call and establish a quorum for it.
Denhart.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
McConnell.
Here.
Wilson. Here. Carver.
Sure. A motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Move to second to approve the agenda. Please call the roll.
Denhart.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Wilson. Aye. Carver.
Aye. Okay, next on the schedule is open forum. This is a time when anybody who would like to speak about something that's not on the agenda can do so. If there are items on the agenda that you wish to speak to, we will recognize you at the time that we discuss that issue. And you have, 2 minutes to present your reasonable amount of time. So anybody who has anything for the open forum?
Well, I'd like to speak, but what I'd like to speak about is on your agenda, so I don't know if I should wait or if I should speak now.
Yeah,
Wait.
we'll wait until we get to that item and we'll talk to you then. Anybody else? Okay, consent items, minutes, bills, financial reports, hirings, resignations, contract changes. Questions, concerns, motion to approve.
I'll move we approve the consent items as shown. Second.
Moved by Steve, second by John to approve the consent items. Please call the roll.
Wilson. Aye. Denhart.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Okay, we'll move right along into old business. Second reading revised board policies. First board policy is 413.1. It deals with classified staff vacations and holidays, trying to line those up.
Yeah, trying to recommend line everything up so nutrition employees and bus drivers would have the same paid holidays as everybody else. Again, they're eligible if they're working during that time frame, but this would line everything up. They'd have the same ones as everybody else.
And last month we did those first two together.
Yes.
Next two together.
And then the second part of that, the second policy, previously when things weren't lined up, the bus drivers and cooks actually receive 3 personal days per year and can accumulate up to 5. So this would change it to receive 2 per year and accumulate to 4, similar to everybody else. So that would be the 2 changes to those policies.
A motion to approve those 2 policies.
I move that we approve board policy 413.1 and 413.8.
Second.
Moved by Catherine, second by Mike to approve board policies 413.1 and 413.8. Please call the roll.
Fisher.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Okay, board policy regarding fundraisers, 504.7.
We received feedback from auditors this year when groups do a fundraiser, in particular if it's for a scholarship, at the time of the fundraiser itself, they need to communicate with the public that some of these funds will be used for scholarships. And then when after they receive the money, they need to designate how much of the funds are going to go towards the scholarship.
And what were the fundraisers was there specific ones that we got dinged for that?
Well, it was mostly student council.
Mhm.
You can't pay a scholarship directly out of student council. We need to raise the money specifically for that and then moved it over. To the side. Yep.
And then the second part of that, the second policy is just
More.
is more of a reference than it is anything else. Back to that fundraising.
Motion to approve.
We're just doing number 3 first.
3 and 4
3 and 4
together.
together.
Okay, 3 and 4. I'd move that we approve policies BP 504.7 on fundraisers and BP 705.5 on use of public funds.
Second.
Moved by Steve, second by Catherine, to approve number 3 and 4. Please call the roll.
McConnell.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. Board policy 905.1, community use of school facilities. We had some discussion about this at the last meeting, and
Give us
we're up for any more tonight.
This is a policy we put together. Again, Todd and Misty did a lot of work on this and got a lot of information from conference schools, area schools that have similar facilities. So we kind of talked about it. Last month, I would still kind of concur with that, we've got to start somewhere and see how it goes. And we need to make adjustments moving forward. We can do that.
And this is, nothing's changed on this from the last time we read it.
The same as last month.
Second reading of the same.
Yep.
Mhm.
Nothing, John.
I'm staying out of it.
Do I have a motion to approve board policy 905.1?
I'll move we approve board policy 905.1, community use of facilities. Second.
Moved by Steve Fisher, second by Mike. To approve
I'm
board
sleepy,
policy
Steve.
905.1, community use of school facilities. Please call the roll.
Wilson.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Carver.
Aye. COVID mitigation efforts, something we've been discussing on a monthly basis. We're going to revisit that currently. Discussion?
Checked with the nurses, I think for the most part, things are going well. We haven't had a lot of cases. Again, since November. So again, I would say things are going well. Their concern all the time is about related to quarantining.
Is what,
Related to quarantining students,
right?
if there's an exposure.
And refresh us on how that works. If they're wearing a mask, they don't have to
Both
quarantine.
parties have to be wearing a mask.
Both parties
Both
do.
parties, and it's 15 minutes of exposure is the guidelines.
And whose guidelines are those?
This basically coming to us from public health, from CDC.
It's not just masks, I mean, it is social distancing too, so if
Yeah, if it's over 6 feet,
apart.
or less than 6 feet now.
I
If it's
thought I
less than
heard,
6 feet, then they have to have masks.
did I hear that the CDC lowered their distance down to 3 feet from 6 feet?
It doesn't change the quarantine part. They said kids can go back to school and be 3 foot apart. But they didn't, that if you have a case that goes to consideration of quarantining, it would still be the 6 feet distancing or wearing a mask if you're closer than the 6 feet.
Do we have a copy of those policies then, or those guidelines?
Yeah, I can get them from public health.
Are they CDC recommendations, or are they local public health recommendations based on CDC?
It's CDC through public health, from Iowa Department of Public Health at the state level, and then handed down.
The Iowa Department of Public Health goes by the national CDC's recommendations.
What do they say? What's the CDC say then, or the regulations say if you've been vaccinated and if you're not distanced, or if one person isn't wearing a mask?
I'm not sure I know that specifically. I do not believe you have to be quarantined if you've been vaccinated. But that, I wouldn't swear to that.
Do we know, like,
We're
the
still-
percentage of teachers that have been vaccinated in our school? Do you have a number?
I don't have the teachers, again, in terms of our staff, it's about 67% that, that's associates, secretaries, everybody.
Did Dr. Schwander, this was when you wanted to speak? Is this when?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, he's got to acknowledge it, doesn't
Yeah, here. Just whoever wants to speak, raise your hand.
he? Raise your hand.
Like school.
To your colleagues, please. I will not take a lot of you guys' time. I know you guys are really busy. My name is Chad Schwander. I'm a chiropractic physician, certified chiropractic sports physician, and most importantly, a parent of 3 Greene County students. I want to start off by thanking you all because I know that the last 18 months have been really difficult to navigate. And you probably don't hear thank you a lot. You just hear the complaints from students and parents from the community. I know that you guys do what you feel is in the best interest of all of our children, and we appreciate that. And that brings me to the reason why I'm here is because right now, what is best for our children is to take the masks off their faces. I'm going to give you 3 points as to why I believe that to be the case. Number 1, nationwide, deaths under the age of 25 are 0.02% of the total. I couldn't get school age because it's negligible. It doesn't even show up.
Of total,
Of the total deaths nationwide, 0.02% of them are under 25 years of age.
oh, okay.
And nearly all of those deaths are people with serious pre-existing conditions, serious comorbidities, cancer patients, things like that. A new study was published by Stanford University, one of the foremost research universities in the world, at the request of the National Institutes of Health. And I have included that entire study for you guys. The first page of that study states that 99% of detected cases of SARS-CoV-2 are asymptomatic or have mild conditions. And given the fact that asymptomatic or minimally symptomatic cases is several times higher than the actual number of reported cases, the case fatality rate is considerably less than 1%. That the virus may exacerbate existing conditions, but rarely causes death by itself. The vast majority of cases of this illness, especially in children, presents as a mild respiratory illness, no different than a cold or the flu. In Greene County, only 12% of the positive cases are in children with 0 deaths. And out of 815 cases reported in Greene County, there have been 10 deaths, which is a survival rate of 99.98%, which is no different than the flu, which is better than pneumonia. Yet we don't mask for any of these other diseases. And of the 10 deaths in Greene County, which are all tragic, all of them had serious pre-existing conditions or comorbidities. And it could be easily assumed that these people died with COVID, not from it. Our current 14-day positivity rate is 1.3%, even though there is no statewide or county mandate anymore. The positivity rate continues to go down, which is well below your original threshold on your matrix for mask use. So my first point is that the local and national statistics do not support this type of intervention, especially on children. Point number 2, of a systematic review of the available scientific literature out there, it is very clear that these masks do not work anyway. The first page is just a small sample of studies that I have found and presented to you. Number 1 from the New England Journal of Medicine. We know that wearing a mask outside of healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. From the Annals of Internal Medicine, both surgical and cotton masks seem to be ineffective in preventing the dissemination of SARS-CoV-2 from the coughs of patients with COVID-19 into the environment and in external mask surface. From the Journal of Influenza and Other Respiratory Viruses, none of these studies established a conclusive relationship between mask or respirator use and protection against influenza infection. From the Journal of Epidemiology and Infection, there is little evidence to support the effectiveness of face masks to reduce the risk of infection. And finally, from the Journal of the American Medical Association, face masks should not be worn by healthy individuals. to protect themselves from acquiring respiratory infection, because there is no evidence to suggest that face masks worn by healthy individuals are effective in preventing people from becoming ill. So, point number 2, they're not that effective anyway. And then my third and most important point is that the harms that are caused by wearing a mask on your face for 8 hours a day far outweigh the benefits. As I've already stated, the scientific literature shows there is no benefit to mask use. However, the harms of mask use are very real. From that same study that just came out of Stanford University is a list of problems associated with prolonged mask use. The physiological effects include hypoxemia, which means low oxygen, hypercapnia, which means increased carbon dioxide in the blood, shortness of breath, increased lactate concentration, which leads to a decreased pH level, which leads to acidosis, and it's a serious condition. Toxicity, inflammation, self-contamination, increase in stress hormones, increased muscle tension, and immunosuppression. And the psychological effects, activation of the fight or flight response, chronic stress, fear, mood disturbances, insomnia, fatigue, and compromised cognitive function. This leads to numerous health consequences, including an increased predisposition for viral infection, not decreased. Headaches, anxiety, depression, hypertension, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, an exacerbation of already existing conditions, health deterioration, and premature mortality. In conclusion, the scientific literature is very clear. The local and national statistics do not support it. The physical and emotional effects that these are having on our children are severely detrimental. In closing, I'd like to read the conclusion of this study that was recently published by Stanford University. The existing scientific evidences challenge the safety and efficacy of wearing face masks as preventive intervention for COVID-19. The data suggests that both medical and non-medical face masks are ineffective to block human-to-human transmission of viral and infectious diseases, supporting against the use of face masks. Wearing face masks has been demonstrated to have substantial adverse physiological and psychological effects, including hypoxia, hypercapnia, shortness of breath, increased acidity and toxicity, activation of fear and stress responses, a rise in stress hormones, immunosuppression, fatigue, headaches, decline in cognitive performance, and a predisposition for viral and other infectious illnesses. Governments, policymakers, and health organizations should utilize proper scientific evidence-based approach with respect to wearing face masks. I want to thank you guys for doing what's best for our kids. But right now, what's best, what's healthy, and what's right is to take these masks off our kids and let them be kids. Thank you.
Chad, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Are there any studies that you can cite or that you've heard of, that any control group studies that talk about the efficacy of masks and their absolute effectiveness? Because Dr. Fauci said early on that masks work. He said there was no studies that showed any effectiveness of masks at stopping viral transmission. I should say surgical masks and cloth masks. The N95s are debatable. But since then, has there been any studies to show that they absolutely, any control group studies that show that they are absolutely effective?
No, there's not. And as a matter of fact, if you read the entire Stanford study, what you'll find is that they break down the size of the weave of certain face masks versus the size of the viral particulates. they're thousands of times smaller than the weave of any mask out there. So the filtration is completely negligible. There's no possible way to prevent viral spread through a mask. It goes right through it.
I read a study the other day from I'm trying to think, I can't remember the guy's name, and I should have brought it, I apologize, but he was an environmental, industrial hygienist, I think he was. Anyway, his specialty was controlling respiratory problems in industry, basically. And apparently there's only he had an advanced degree. I don't remember if it was a master's degree or a PhD, but there's only about 200 of these specialists in the country. And he went through a lot of statistics and data, but he said basically the virus size, if he went to an industrial setting and tried to mitigate, say, asbestos, which I think he said has a micron size of about 5 microns, with a surgical mask, which will only, no, the asbestos has 5 microns. If he tried to mitigate that with a surgical mask, he would be run out of his business because he says the micron size, it would go right through it. And he said the micron size for the virus, for any virus, is like 0.3 microns. And we're expecting a surgical mask or a cloth mask to stop that. And he said, I'd be laughed out of my business if I.
Surgical masks are designed to be used in a sterile environment. They're designed to be used in an operating room, which is already sterile. It's basically so that the surgeon doesn't drool or sneeze in an open body. That's all they're designed to do. They've never been designed to prevent disease spread of any type.
Other discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to just maybe get some numbers. How many students since, we'll say February, since that's when the mask mandate in the state of Iowa was lifted, how many students have we had with positive cases? Handful?
Handful, yeah, less than 10.
And we've been under 5% positivity rate, I believe, since that time, if not before that. And we've been 2 weeks, we're 2 weeks out from dropping it to yellow. And have we had any cases since we moved it to yellow?
I don't believe that we have any in the school. We've had some indirectly related, but it was a parent that maybe a kid was.
But no kids in our school district or staff in our school district, because we're not responsible for the public.
We've had staff members.
Yeah.
The staff member that,
Staff members.
So we're not telling the school.
well, it was a staff member that wasn't.
It was, actually, she didn't even report it. She was gone for more than a week, and so
So we don't know. Like, did she get tested?
I don't know that.
Okay, so we can't even really count that as a number.
It's not.
But so I would like to move that we go to green, district-wide, and it's district-wide policy. So it's every classroom, every hallway, every office is on green. So I'm making a motion to do that, so.
Can I say one?
Yeah.
One thing. Yeah, I just want everybody to understand that quarantine is something we still have to continue, no matter what color we're on. If there's exposure less than 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, I mean, that's CDC public health in my mind.
And and I understand that.
Yeah,
That needs to be up to each kid and each parent. That should be their decision. And I realize that that's something that we've decided. I know there's a school district here in Iowa, Butler maybe school district, I'm not sure which one it is, that has not, do you know which one is it?
North Butler.
That is not quarantine kids. That's up to parents. I'm not asking for that. I understand that,
Yeah, I just wanted to,
sure.
I just wanted to put that out there.
But at some point, it's got to be about the kids and the parents making that decision for their kids. So that's my motion.
Okay, I'd like to give the opposite side of this whole thing. First of all, this is not a study. This is a hypothesis. The author believes masks, and he's using data
If
to
you read
support
the
his
study, it's a
position.
systematic
I read
review
it.
of dozens of.
Absolutely, and there's dozens of other ones that have different conclusions. So you're picking your information and using it to support your position. It's a hypothesis. It is not a study. That's what the title says. It's clear that we've not had influenza during this past season with social distancing and masking.
So why hasn't that worked for COVID then? If masks and washing hands has worked for flu, why didn't it work for COVID? You can't use that as an argument for this. You can't. If
How are you saying
influenza,
it didn't work before COVID? Where would we
I don't
have
think they're
been?
testing that for
Where would
that.
we have been for COVID if we had not?
think
Why shouldn't it all
nobody
be
knows
gone? Why?
where it's been. My
I
biggest thing,
understand, I didn't believe that masks would help when we started this, because the science is that a virus is extremely small. It's gonna go through any kind of mask that you wear. But it's not just the virus that's being stopped by your mask. It's the droplets that have 1,000 to 1,000,000 virus on the droplets. So you're not spreading thousands of virus droplets.
No, you're rebreathing them into your own.
This is
lungs.
my time to talk. You have your time to talk. So just from and you know, it's not like the public health profession and physicians are lying to us. They're trying to use their best information to give us their best advice.
And I'm not saying, Dr. Carver, that they are. I just know that where we're at percentage wise in our county, I'm not saying the whole state, we're just responsible for our
So
school
your daughter's
district.
gonna go to state track meet.
No, she's not, she's on track.
Okay, but if she is,
Okay,
and she gets exposed and we don't meet the criteria, are you gonna be upset because she doesn't get to go because the school district decided to go? We're in the ninth inning, we're at.
but it's funny to me that we always use sports for the thing, because we don't want our kids to miss out on. My daughter missed out and she never got COVID. She missed out on her senior night.
We don't. Michelle Fields was here telling us the consequences of her daughter being at home during quarantine and how it impacted her education negatively. So we need to keep these kids in school. I think yellow is still allowing kids to decide whether they want to wear their mask or not. We don't have to go another step. We can bear with what we're doing.
It's not though, because on yellow, our elementary is still required to always wear the mask except for at recess. And at the middle school, it's pretty much the same. Kids are getting in trouble for taking their masks off, even when they're socially distanced. It's not consistent. And I think it needs to be consistent.
Couldn't, if individual students were concerned about being able to participate in things, couldn't they just continue to wear a mask?
Absolutely.
Not if the other guy who has it doesn't wear a mask. He still has to be quarantined. They both have. So I
But they have to be-
line up and run next to John, and John tests positive tomorrow. I've been exposed.
What if
Even with
John's,
my mask on, I have to be quarantined.
what if John's had the shot?
Well, the kids haven't had shots.
Yeah. I got two questions. One, aren't health facilities getting paid to test for COVID and paid to get vaccines? I can answer it, yes, because my brother's a pharmacist. He gets paid $60 a shot to give everybody a shot, the moneymaker. Two, does not the COVID test also pick up the flu, the cold, and all the other viruses that we have?
No, it's a specific test for COVID.
Since when?
Actually,
Has
that's
been
not true.
from the beginning.
It actually
My
does
wife
pick
had
up
it.
coronavirus of any type.
According to the hospital, my wife had COVID. I went through all the quarantine things, basically, because I worked out in the middle of nowhere with nobody. She was sick. And like I say, she wasn't sick. She was in bed, couch 10 days. It's no different than having the flu for 10 days.
I understand that.
So that was the question I had for Becky Wolf a month or 2 months ago. Where'd all the flu cases go? They don't drop off because we're wearing a mask. Flu just doesn't disappear.
Well, I
Well, we're
did a
socially
snotty
distancing.
job because I had COVID in November, and right now I can't, everything I smell and taste smells like it's rotten.
My wife
So-
says the same thing.
Okay, so but you can't say that's like the flu then,
No.
because you can get over the flu.
I agree, but the flu changes every year.
Flu kills a lot of people too.
Well,
So what I'm,
500,000 people like COVID did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think what Doc Carver's trying to say
I
though,
mean, it has, but not very often. It's a much smaller number. It's usually 30,000 to 50,000 people a year that die
we are
of
in a
complications of
I
influenza
mean,
versus
I realize.
500,000.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of debate we can have about a lot of this. I mean, the one thing, the hypothesis that you stated, I've also heard a hypothesis that the masks actually take the droplets, and because of the pressure that's behind them, it aerosolizes them so that they can travel farther. So I've heard that hypothesis too. There's a lot of hypotheses floating around. And I've heard that the mask actually increases the chance that you're going to be infected by, because it aerosolizes and allows the virus aerosol, which is what transmits it, not droplets, but
You
it's
can't do a
aerosol.
controlled study because it's a person's behavior. You can't control behavior well enough to do, like in a medication trial, a controlled study, somebody gets saline, somebody else gets a medication. And you can see results easily. This is really hard to study. There clearly are some studies that looked at case studies where there was a difference. Those who wore masks didn't get it. People who didn't wear masks did. Like I said, I didn't believe that it would be effective to begin with, but I do think it's had a significant impact.
There's a lot of, and I respect your opinion, and I'm not a doctor, and you are, but I read about a lot of doctors that disagree with that, so.
It goes both ways, though,
There's-
Steve.
there's a lot of disagreement.
My biggest thing that I look at, since the mask mandate in Greene County and a lot of places, what's our positivity rate? Is it went up like it was?
No, we're at 2% right now.
That's what I'm saying, Catherine. Why
It's gone
is that?
down.
Why is that? Because we've had masks on.
No, if you go to the grocery store, less and less people are wearing
Okay, I'm
masks.
not
right
gonna sit here and argue about it. I mean, there's studies both ways that everybody, it's with anything in life.
So,
Becky Wolf would just like to.
okay.
Hello?
You wanna make this-
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I appreciate everybody's input, but I think we need to kind of stop and really think about what we're looking at, okay? Number one, your child may not come down with a nasty case of COVID. They may only come down with mild symptoms, or they may come down with asymptomatic. That is very true. However, they are shedders and spreaders. And do you want them, until we get kids vaccinated, or at least a good share of them, we're going to continue to have the need for masking. I know everybody's sick and tired of the masks, but the masks are working. You mentioned, the flu incidents this winter. Why do you think that it's down? Because you're using masking. As far as the CDC's recommendation, it's not public health. It's not Greene County Public Health that is driving the recommendations. These are CDC recommendations. Yes, the kids can now be 3 feet apart. However, if you have 2 people and either one is not wearing a mask and you have somebody getting exposed, then everybody within that 6-foot range, within the 15-minute time frame, is going to have to quarantine at home because they've been exposed. And they have the possibility of spreading it to their friends, to their school teachers, to your family members, including people that are at higher risk. But to say that nobody that is without health conditions does not die from this, I beg to differ. How many of you have lost a family member to COVID? Is there anybody in the room?
Betty just lost her brother to COVID.
I lost my brother-in-law back in January. He had COVID. My sister was in the hospital at the same time, extremely sick, thinking we were going to lose her too. She couldn't be with him in his dying moments. The 5 kids, and all of the family members went through this horrificness. All because there wasn't mask assistance. As far as if surgical masks were not effective, then why do you think that healthcare providers and surgeons and everybody that is taking care of people in the hospital with COVID, why are we wearing them if they're not effective?
We're
We initially.
we're gonna probably,
Thank you, Becky.
thank you, Becky. We're probably gonna move
We have
on.
a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I have a question first. Under the yellow mandate, we allowed teachers in their respective rooms to say that if there was, because there are a few kids around that have some family members that have got some concerns. And teachers I know that I've talked to have tried to be respectful of those students and say, you know, in my room, when that student's in here, I would like you to wear masks.
Under yellow, my understanding is the teacher. is-
Under yellow, they have to be socially distanced to take.
No,
their
but,
mask off.
but when we, the last meeting, when you voted to go to yellow,
The stipulation
the board
was,
basically said, if a teacher says,
the
request
teachers,
that they wear it in their classroom.
Right.
That was something that
the
was.
teacher is still in charge of their classroom for
Correct.
whatever reason.
Correct. That's the
And-
motion that was made at the last meeting.
Right, and that's what we've been operating under for the last month, correct?
Correct.
It's been 2 weeks. The 6th, this one we
April
switched.
6th, yeah.
That's 2 weeks.
Well, since the last meeting, I'm sorry. I would second it with that stipulation.
The teachers could still.
Yeah.
So
In-
can they do
in
red
their
or
rooms.
if, I just think that's not consistent, Steve. That's my only thing with that is that I know of situations with students, even when they were socially distanced, that were not allowed to take their masks off or got in trouble because they removed it. It's confusing to kids at middle school age and younger. The elementary, they're not even getting to take their masks off. I know that for a fact. But at middle school age, kids think they can, and then in certain classrooms, certain areas, then they can't. That's the only reason I say green everywhere is because it's
What was our
consistent.
limit to get off at green?
Without having that in front of me, if there was one case, we went from green to yellow.
But
One
there
case
was-
in a building.
There was a percentage also,
What was
wasn't there?
5%, I think, yeah.
5%.
2% or less now?
We've been, what did you say, the 14-day positive was 1.9, 1.3? I mean, we haven't been above 5, I think, since January in Greene County. And the state, in fact, has been under 5% for quite a long time.
They've been in the 4 to 4.5%.
Yeah, they're a little bit higher than
for the
us.
last 2 months.
I mean, I don't know when the last case was. When was the last case in our school district? Middle of March, maybe the beginning of March. I mean, our kids went on spring break and didn't come back and spike. We went to yellow, and came back and didn't spike. We've kind of had these promises of mass numbers of cases because we've been together and it's not happened. I'd like to see it more consistent across the district. That's just me though, so.
Well, I would second it, but I'd only second it with the stipulation
I have a-
that teachers,
something. When all these kids get on the bus and they're packed in there, I would prefer that they all wear masks on the bus. All of our drivers are of higher age and some of us have preconditions. So
have they
it
had,
has nothing to do with the building, but when they're on the bus, they're all packed in there. So
have the,
I haven't been sick since I've worn it. So I believe they do help. I get sick twice a year.
We've established that we don't agree on that. I mean, that's just something we know we're not gonna agree on, so I
But I do see your
understand it.
point with the elderly people.
There are
It's
bus
just-
drivers who will not continue to work
Mhm.
if we go to this,
100%.
because they have a son at home with problems and a mother they're taking care of. That was somebody who was here at a meeting 2 meetings ago. If you go to that, I probably can't work any longer. We're gonna have a labor issue then.
Mhm.
I got a no because my son has what his pediatrician called overactive airway disease. But it's asthma, basically.
Correct, yeah.
But it's not a bad case, but I got a no so that he doesn't have to wear masks. I do not want him having a mask on and having his air restricted. And I just feel like it's his God-given right to breathe in fresh air. And so as far as the bus drivers go, what do we do about that?
He doesn't wear a mask on the bus.
He doesn't wear a mask in school.
No, he doesn't wear one on the bus either, I understand
Yeah,
that. He's gotta know.
people with notes.
So is that okay for the bus driver?
Well, if there's only 1 or 2 kids on the bus, out of the 60,
I guess we'd ask.
Yeah, people with
We'd
notes
ask your
that
son
still.
to stay socially distanced from the bus driver as best you can, but there's still going to be recirculation of air, so it's still somewhat of a concern.
Steve, what does that look like to you? I mean, what's your reasoning by wanting to be able to do that?
Well, I just think there's certain situations that we have to be sensitive to. And I think that I agree. I think we need to respect, there's a lot of parents who would like to see their kids get out of these masks. We don't feel like these masks are legitimate, okay? And there's people that obviously feel the other way. I think a lot of people have been traumatized by this whole situation. I think we need to still continue to respect people. And there are going to be situations. I think athletes need to be protected, although I don't agree with the guidelines. I think they're arbitrary, like a lot of the things that have been set up by the CDC.
Anyway.
I know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the CDC has said a lot of things over the last 14 months, and then they've changed their mind on stuff too. So I think we need to somehow try to figure out a way to respect people that have legitimate concerns, and yet allow people that also have legitimate concerns on the other side to not have their kids encumbered with a mask. I mean, there's a lot of data that's coming out about the emotional problems with masks. There's a lot of physical problems with masks. There's a lot of concerns about masks both ways. And the reason I asked if there's any data that states that there is some kind of a control group study that says this is what it is, and I've never been able to find any. And
I haven't either.
and even, like I said, even Fauci said that early on. He said there's no data that shows the effectiveness of masks. Well, then he switched for some reason, and I've never heard the reason why he switched. But so I think there needs to be some kind of a.
I'll just say something on behalf of the students. Like, I'm in the high school, I know it's different for elementary and middle schoolers, but seniors have 20 days left. Other students have around 30. Can't we just stick it out till the end? Something's been working because I've seen less kids go missing due to this virus since November, which I'm pretty sure November is when we started mandating masks everywhere. So something has had been working since then. And, we got such a short time left. I don't really want to see my senior year get ruined by something crazy like my junior year did last year.
Can we be more, go ahead, John.
What do we do for lunch?
We're spaced out.
Is every person 6 feet apart?
Yeah, and you have to be diagonal from each other.
It is enforced too, as well by the janitors every time.
It's more challenging at the middle school than the elementary where.
So if somebody's sitting, obviously they don't have their mask on, they get quarantined.
There's,
If they sit
it
by
could be
somebody,
limited to a couple kids typically that are quarantined. Sometimes it's more than that if they're.
but that
gathering.
hasn't happened either.
One more comment, because we should proceed.
Can you not say buildings are green, buses are yellow, and anybody that wants to wear a mask can wear one?
Yeah.
Why can't it be that simple? My son has to wear a mask during gym.
Yeah.
During gym, they're running, they're playing basketball. He comes home, his face is red, bumps, and he can't breathe because he has to wear a mask in gym. Buildings can be green, buses can be yellow. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. No one's going to stop you.
I think that's fair. I understand with the bus. I get that.
I
It's
get
a
the
little
bus,
closer
absolutely.
contact. And
I realize there is a higher risk area, and I absolutely agree.
I've got 2 elementary kids, and I'm gonna have a third going into elementary next year. I've seen an emotional breakdown of my children because of wearing these masks. They are not, I send my kids to school to learn and to socialize with kids and make friends. They can't play with each other. They can't be next to each other. They literally come home crying. I can't stand it. What do I do as a parent when I can't help them during the day at school? That's the teachers, that's the community. I understand that people need to stay safe, but I was raised, my kids threw me with the neighbors so I'd get chickenpox when I was a kid. I mean, Their kids build their immunity system as they're younger. They need to catch colds and flus. Because when you're elderly and you get sick with this stuff that you should have had when you were young, it's gonna take you down. I understand reasons for masks and I understand reasons not for masks. I agree with what that lady said. Go green for the school, yellow for the buses. If you want your kids to wear a mask, send them to school with a mask. That's my take. Thank you.
So can we make another motion that is like that?
There's a motion on the floor. We need to act on
You can, no, she can rescind it.
Yeah,
I
you
have
can
it
res-
seconded.
yeah,
She can rescind that or
it.
read.
You can rescind the motion, restate it.
Well,
He tried to change it.
No, I said if. I haven't seconded it yet. No.
I'm not accusing you, I'm just.
Okay, I got you. So,
You're making me talk about.
so I'll try this again. I'd like to make a motion that in the buildings it's green, on the buses it's yellow.
There's a second.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. That we follow the guidelines of green in the school and yellow on the buses. Please call the roll.
Benhart,
No.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Wilson,
Aye.
Carver.
No. Okay.
I have one
Board committee
question.
reports?
Is that effective tomorrow then, or now?
We'll
or-
try to put the date on that.
That would, that's the way we've handled it so far.
Is
But
what
we're gonna have
What
to
do you
instruct
recommend?
everybody.
my personal
Communicate.
my personal opinion would be Monday, so we've got an opportunity to communicate with people and everything. It's, I mean, if everybody is
That'd be fine.
okay with that.
And always remember, you want to wear one. Nobody's saying you don't have to wear one. You can always wear one.
Not up here.
Anybody.
Anybody, he's just saying.
I mean, if anybody wants to wear one, I mean, because I know you guys talked about not changing it.
But then if the kid next to me gets COVID,
Yeah.
he's not wearing
As a
it, then I have to
student-
quarantine
I wouldn't
and
wear
sit out
it.
for 2 weeks and then miss.
As a
Don't worry
student,
about it.
honestly, the only thing
It's
I'm worried about is like we're so close to the end with track and everything. It would just really suck to get quarantined.
As Doc was saying, we're in the ninth inning. We're in the ninth inning of a baseball game,
Are we
about
done?
to get out of here.
Yeah, we already
And
Yeah, we
approved
were.
it. It's our- this-
Thank you.
I just want to thank you all for your time. One thing I'll say about that. Don't go get tested.
I don't find, well, the ones that bother me is the kids are taking.
I can't hear you.
That kid, and he.
So that's fine. That's good.
100%. I wouldn't worry about no kids, but it's adults.
Board committee reports.
What's that?
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody is required to stay for the entire meeting.
Should have locked them in.
Thanks, guys.
With a mask on. Board committee reports. We have facilities committee meetings on, and Tim and I, and custodial staff, all this,
We'll talk about some of that stuff on the,
and some of it is in here.
Yep.
I thought it was really, and there's a whole matrix that probably every board member should have if they don't have
yeah,
it.
we're working on
That
a
looks at
10-year
A 10-year plan of
plan.
things that we will need to do as we go along and the finances associated with that. There's, whether we, I think one of the biggest questions is what, 3 years from now or 2 years? From now?
The
3 years from now.
voter approved PEPAL, we need to make a decision whether we're going to try to renew that.
When do we have to make that decision?
It's 10 years, so FY '24, so the 23-24 year is how long it runs. So a decision, you need to vote, we need to vote prior to that and
Probably not next year, but the next year.
vote to renew it.
Because there's limited dates you can vote.
Correct.
You can have elections.
But that's just something
That
that
gives you a levy of 1.34.
$1.34, which generates about 750,000.
So we use that a lot for school buses. I mean,
When do
we
you-
get to the point where sales tax is free of debt and some of those sorts of things, that potentially could replace that and would allow us to do that, but I'm not sure we're gonna be there personally that soon, but. part of
And
it
you don't
is
have to levy all of it.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just,
just a matter of we can.
yeah.
Who's all on that committee then? Just the three of you, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's good to have long-term plans.
Sean,
Good.
the other board committees.
We had a wellness meeting, a short one.
Yeah, and I'll
We
talk
can
about,
talk about it
I'll talk
later.
about that in my,
Administrative.
Yeah.
report. Okay. So we'll move on to administrative reports.
Mr. Phillips, I guess I need to call the, they're waiting for me to.
Wait on you, sorry.
Am I coming through?
Yes.
You are.
Just a few things. Kyle and Emily are doing some mental health training with all of our 10th graders, which is a great thing. They're going through about 6 sessions with them over the next couple weeks. First session, just kind of a general mental health topics. The next one are, specific challenges for teens that go into, suicide, harm to others, helping a friend with substance abuse and things like that. So it's really good that they're meeting with all the 10th graders and to continue that work even next year. So eventually all the kids will be trained in mental health techniques and just awareness. I'm working on 5th short observations in classrooms, trying to get those 5 times done for each teacher before the end of the year. I'm very glad that we had prom and NHS induction. So that's really good to have those events. We didn't have those last year. Some changes with prom. Mrs. Carmen, Mrs. Vargas, and Mrs. Garnett are going to be in charge of prom with the retirement of Mrs. Green and some movement of some other folks. With the retirement of Mrs. Broman, NHS is going to go to Mrs. Kennedy and Mrs. Van Egmond. So very glad to have those folks step up and take charge of those things. That's about all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sanders?
Good evening. Want to update you. It's, I know somebody else will probably mention this, but it's assessment season. So we've got a lot of tests going on. We have just finished our regularly scheduled Iowa assessments, ISASP. Today, we've got quite a few makeups. I wanted to compliment Mrs. Shannon, Mrs. Unken, Mrs. Highnote, Mrs. Neal, and I'm probably leaving somebody out, but for getting some of those makeups done, we did them over 6 days so that we didn't have too long a testing period. It's just really tough to schedule everything with the tests. Some grades have 4 modules, some have 5 modules in the middle school. So we are getting those finished. We're going to start Teen Maze tomorrow, the joint effort between YSS and the Boone, Greene, and Story County Kiwanis clubs. As you may remember in the past, this is for 7th graders, and they normally hold it at the Boone County Fairgrounds. This year, with like everything else, including this meeting right here, it's going to be virtual. So there are 6 modules that YSS has produced. And following a great suggestion from Mr. Christensen, we've partnered with ISU Extension, with New Opportunities, with YSS, with the Law Enforcement Center here in town, as well as using our own staff. We have 6 different presenters or facilitators, if you will, to oversee those modules with our 7th graders. So that should be a really good experience for them this next week. And then part of the state requirement for looking at the conditions of learning in the school, the culture, the atmosphere, support, et cetera, is that conditions for learning survey that the Department of Ed places squarely on building principals to get finished. That's going to be coming up the first week in May as well for all 5th through 8th graders. I know that's happening at other buildings also. So lots of questions and answers this time of year.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
I would concur with Mr. Zanders. It is testing season. I think right now we're doing our fast testing, and then we'll be doing BVSD testing and all kinds of them. And so it's just a lot of testing going on right now. As far as our ISAFs test, our state test, like to thank Karen Sandberg and Emily Gannon. They did a great job of putting everything together, and then all of the teachers that helped to make sure that we did that. In talking to our teachers, they said that our kids tried, from what they saw, tried really hard on them, were diligent about doing a good thing. The main thing I want to do tonight is, I know I've talked a few times to you about the Lou with Mr. Thompson. He's doing some really neat things with PE this year. And he took a survey of some of our younger kiddos and found out that about 50% of our kindergartners and first graders were not able to ride bicycles. So he wrote a grant and they're called Strider bicycles. And so he's been working with our kindergartners and first graders with Strider bicycles. And I took a short video, about a 20-second video, so you could kind of see what a Strider bike is all about if you're not familiar with them. So, Mr. Gersma, would you mind showing that?
Yep, he is.
It is on the screen.
Oh, it is? Okay, good. Yeah, so kind of the way it works is they start off learning how to balance and just kind of push themselves along, and then there's two little platforms down there where the pedals would go. And as they get more comfortable, they can put their feet up on those pedals, on the platforms, I mean. And then after they do that, then what he did was he took those platforms off and he replaced the platforms with pedals. And so we've had a lot of little kiddos that probably are going to be asking for bicycles this summer because Mr. Thompson got them learning how to ride bicycles. So kind of a really neat thing that he's done with them. So any questions from anybody?
Are you testing?
Am I what?
Are you testing with all the testing?
Yeah, I think we are getting a little bit more so on that. Yes.
Sorry.
Nope, that is fine. And that kind of goes along with some of those things that we talked about before, just letting the kids learn. But some of these things we just don't have control of, and those testing are what we have to do, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Mrs. Sandberg?
Good evening. As everybody has said, it is testing season, and that has been my life for the last several weeks. Again, I want to say a huge thank you to Emily Gannon, because she and I make a really good team when it comes time to doing this stuff from her perspective and mine, and wouldn't have been able to get all those sessions set up, tickets printed. A lot of people don't realize all the behind the scenes work that has to happen before we can test our kids. But we started with a week at the high school, and that went pretty smoothly. Big thank you to Brent Gersma to check and make sure that everything was going to work with the network. And we had one little glitch at the very beginning, and they figured that out, and everything from that point went smoothly. Then Emily and I spent a week at the rec center and had all of our remote learners schedule a time when they could come in and do testing at the rec. So a big thank you to Denny Hammond and the people at the rec center for making that possible for us to be able to use that big room, space kids out, and still allow those kids that have been learning at home to come in and do their tests. And we had every single kiddo that was doing remote learning that tests come in and get all of those done. So that was great. And then last week was middle school and elementary testing. The elementary is all made up, and I was just going through and closing sessions as they've started doing some makeups. And right now, the middle school has 22 tests that need to be finished. They've started, but they haven't finished them because with this test, they don't have a time limit. So they get as long as they need. So there are 22 tests remaining that need to be finished up, and 8 tests that have need to be started, even some kiddos that have been absent during the testing time. So 8 whole tests, 22 part tests, that's all that's left. And so hopefully we'll be done and able to close our testing window by the end of this week. And then we should receive data by the end of the first week in May. And we'll start using that data to look at summer school and learning loss and make some decisions based on that. any questions?
Thank you. Mrs. Neal?
I ditto, but basically it is testing season, so, that's, one of the things we've been working on, training the teachers at the beginning, and we trained the students on how to take the test. And then all the students worked really hard, the ones, at the high school, the middle school, and the elementary, they're all little troopers on that. So, I know that it's important for us, and it's not as important for Alex to go to college, but they knew it was important to us, and so I felt like we really worked to do their best on that. Just working on some summer school curriculum to get us ready for that, and obviously what Karen said, we're collecting data for that all the time, and trying to come up with some new ideas with Mr. C about maybe some enrichment programs and stuff like that as well. So that's a work in progress, but and I just want to commend these kids for coming tonight. Alex is missing soccer practice right now because he needs to present on this class. Kelly Gray's going to present later on. She's been doing a fantastic job with this new class and reaching out with these students that are above and beyond the call of duty here. So they'll get their presentation in a bit, but I just want to appreciate everything that they're doing.
Thank you.
Mrs. Hinote?
Hello, everybody. Just to echo what you guys are all saying, testing season. And a big shout out, like Julie was saying, to our kids. They and parents, thank you for getting them to bed and feeding them breakfast and getting them to school. And they are working hard. And you guys should be really proud of them because they're really doing a good job. So we're working on just how to get ready for a new curriculum next year, kindergarten through 8th grade. And trying to tighten up our assessment system a little, try to make it more systematic. So we have our kindergarten and first grade teachers, even with all the testing that they're doing, they are trying a new screener for us right now to see if one that aligns better to what we already used in the FastBridge system. So that's kind of what's going on with us, and just figuring out what to use to make up our lost learning with our kids in math. So do you have any questions for me? Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Gordon?
Hi, everyone. Just a busy spring. Obviously, we didn't have it last year, and we're excited to be having it this year. Have 5 kids competing at Drake tomorrow. You've probably seen they're competing all high school events on Thursday. So we have 5 events there tomorrow. A couple more track meets yet, about 8 or 10 more home soccer games. Golf is going. We had a good contingent of kids competing in a virtual small group for vocal music the last weekend. So just go, go, go. And spring's going to be over before you know it. Baseball starts in about 10 days, and softball starts a week after that. So our kids are busy. So are our coaches. So appreciate everybody's efforts.
Would you maybe address the new thing, the dead week? Might be something just to mention.
Yeah, it's I don't have the exact dates in front of me. It's right at the end of July, first part of August. It's just a statewide family week, they call it. They don't call it Dead Week, Mr. Christensen. That's
Sorry.
but it's called a family week. It goes from Saturday to the following Sunday, and it's just no activities. Our buildings can't be open. Our weight room can't be open. Can't have kids, no camps, anything. It's designed to let families kind of plan a week of vacation where there's nothing planned. So no band, no early things like that. So that's towards the end of July.
Thank you.
We rescheduled the track meet? No.
No, you did not.
Okay.
Sad.
Mr. DeMoss, Mr. Stover.
Welcome to Iowa, where you do snow removal and then mow in the afternoon.
Was that today?
it's every day the last 4 or 5, but, yeah, it's just been an interesting year. We've got a lot of things going on with transportation and grounds and buildings. We're gonna talk later about some of the things that, we've upgraded a lot of our facilities, and now it's time that we're probably gonna have to upgrade some of our maintenance and things that we need to keep everything up and running, so. I'd like to also, I'm very proud that we have kids that show up to a public meeting, have an opinion, voice it. I'd hand you your diploma now and you wouldn't have to come back. It's very big of you.
Thank you, guys.
We did have bus inspection on the 13th. It went very well. Only had 2 30-day, one for a backup alarm and the one for light, both for ground issues. Hit them, it worked, but. And bus bidding, just one thing about the mask thing, if the kids don't have to wear masks in school, are they still gonna have them with them, or are we gonna have to provide more daily? So you may have to.
We have to order, probably.
Have to get some more of the buses.
Laura? Put that on your list. Okay, thank you, guys. Mr. Gersma?
Good evening, board. So we've been recording and streaming events, and I guess we're going to be doing a lot more in the future here. We recently did the Grand March in National Honor Society. For the Grand March, we actually had 204 live viewers, and we've had 1,200 hits. So got a lot of positive feedback about that. That was really neat. I got to be a part of it to watch and be a part of, I guess. So we're also going to be doing awards night graduation. I'm not sure if I said that or not, but I'm investigating on how I can get students more involved with this. Would love to work with some of them if they have an interest in that kind of thing, whether it's TV news or just the whole concept of being at events and getting them out on the internet. So there's a big push for that, I know, and it's a lot of fun. So anyway, investigating that. We're prepping for summer projects. We've got student and teacher Chromebooks potentially coming in. And then there's you'll be talking about this later, but with ESSER funds, some stuff that we're going to propose for next fall. So it could very well be a very busy summer for us, but very exciting too, with some of the things we can potentially introduce to the students and staff to increase their learning. I did receive E-rate approval for our core switch, so we saved 70% on that. So thank you again for allowing me to submit that bid. That'll be a summer project as well. And then we did have just recently a preliminary esports conversation. They'll be presenting about that next month, but pretty exciting. It's a big thing right now in Iowa. I was actually hoping to do it this year, but with COVID, we had to kind of push it back a year. And so there's a lot of interest. Kyle Kinney took just a poll of the students, and he got a lot of responses right away that the kids were interested in being part of that group. And I've got 4 people that are potentially lined up to be coaches already. So that's good stuff. And then I guess I was going to say to work with Todd this week to get the Pixelot camera installed in the press box. So for football season next year, that'll be ready to go for watching those games on the NFHS network. Questions for me?
I have one. Graduation's coming up. I heard it's going to be at the football field.
Yeah.
That's going to be live streamed also.
Correct. Yeah, weather allowing, or weather,
right.
As long as that works out, yeah, we'll stream it at the football field. And if it doesn't work out with rain or snow, God, who knows what? You never know.
You never know.
What's the date of graduation?
23rd.
Yeah, but if not there, then it'll be at the high school auditorium. But yeah, we'll plan to live stream and record that as well.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other reports, correspondence? Okay. New business. Ram Fanatic.
Where do you want us to be? Here? Here? Here, just a little hand.
We're just here to kind of give a little overview of a new venture or project or class at the high school. that we are in the second try of doing called Brand Fanatic. Kind of brainchild this summer. I met with Mr. Gordon and Mr. Christensen and talked about ways that we could get students involved in promoting the school and kind of taking over a bunch of school social media things. We started that second try, so end of November. So I hope you've seen us online. If not, you should follow us. But Miguel's gonna talk a little bit about what we're doing. We have a really big project that Alex is gonna talk about, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I think I know most of you, but if you don't, I'm a Kill Kid for I'm a senior, and I've taken this class both tries now that it's been offered. And just real quick, personally, like for me, this will help my future career a lot because I plan on going into journalism. So it's a really good class for kids to take, especially in the time that we live in as kids. Like social media is really important for like your businesses or companies and stuff. So some things that we do right now, we do Ram of the Week for the athletes. We have 6 Rams of the Week right now with all the different sports teams going on. We also live tweet at all of the events. So we have students go to the events and they just live tweet throughout the game. And a lot of people like that if you can't come to them. And we also did that, we started that during basketball season. So now we kind of have a few more people looking at those live tweets for soccer and stuff. I've done a few preview videos. I've been the one kind of working on that. I don't know if anybody's seen those on Facebook, but we kind of like try to preview like the soccer team or the golf team and just show like what they're doing. It's just kind of supposed to be fun. Kind of, eventually we plan on doing hype videos. So that's kind of, just gives you a taste about like what a hype video would be like. We do daily and weekly schedules for all of our activities, which I think is really helpful for the community to know what's going on. We also have these smart TVs in the hallways, and we run the ones here at middle school too, right?
Maybe
Just
someday
high
at
school.
middle school.
Okay.
We have the capability, but.
We run those
Yeah.
smart TVs at the high school, so we put a bunch of different things on there, whatever we want. Those go up there, daily announcements, and then we're just also trying to do school spirit. And I think that this class is a great way to help our community get more involved in our school. And I think that's always something that you can't have too much of.
One thing that we talked about this summer, like maybe a 2 or 3 year plan, would be to have students work with some businesses uptown. And that happened like in 2 or 3 months. So Jen Badger reached out. They have a new committee uptown called Retail Revamped through the Chamber and Jefferson Matters Main Street. And they had some businesses who were interested in having some students help them with social media outreach and running their social media. So they applied for a grant through the Greene County Foundation, and got that. And then the ball moved really quickly. And we have 3 kids, Lily Muir also, she's sick, that are going to be interning for the next 3 months with 6 businesses uptown. So Alex can kind of tell you how that happened.
Yeah, I think these internships are probably, I think, in my opinion, the biggest topic of the night because this is really going to bring a lot of awareness to Greene County. At the chamber meeting, it was mentioned many times that a lot of other counties surrounding us are paying a lot of attention to this internship program because they eventually may want to replicate it in their own counties. Because essentially what we're supposed to be doing is creating content and advertising and different things like that to put out on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and everything. Because nowadays people aren't necessarily looking through the newspaper ads anymore. They want to contact the younger generation to come into their stores and buy their products and stuff. And the best way to do that is through those social media platforms. So Lily, Michaela, and I are lucky enough to be the first 3 to do this program. And we each got 2 businesses each, which we plan on working for 2 hours each business. So in total is 4 hours a week, which I'm sure we're open to more because sometimes it takes a little bit to create content. But for them, we're going to work with them and they'll give us different ideas about what they want to be published out there and what they want people to see. And then we'll do our best trying to create their vision and put it out there for our community to see and hopefully other communities as well to bring more awareness to Greene County.
So they're going to be interning starting May 3rd, so through May, June, July. Obviously, they're done in, like you think, they're 20 days. So they'll be still meeting through the summer and different things like that. But really cool to just hear them work with the different businesses and all the ideas that they have. And we're hoping that this can be a cyclical thing, that we get new kids then in September and then in the winter. They just have to take the class one time to kind of get some basis, and then they can do that. They can use class time while they're still with me for the next few weeks. So just lots of ideas, looking to the future. We put some ideas on there, some different things. We've talked to Brent about maybe how we mentioned the live streaming. Culture doesn't know this, but maybe working with the radio station, different things like that. Just any sort of all media things, which is really helpful for a lot of different, they're getting some really good real life experience before they go to college. They're gonna be able to say, like, I've actually worked on a social media campaign for a business, and that's something they may want to do in the future, so.
Or even if you're like me, I'm going into spaceflight operations. But this really broadens my resume of things I've done, the social media thing, and especially that flyer right there is kind of a preview of different things we make. And it is definitely a great 21st century skill to be able to create stuff like that just in an instant.
The exciting thing from my perspective, again, we kind of presented this idea to Kelly as just, let's start this something small, and it's grown exponentially. Never anticipated that the community would get involved like they are. Again, internships is something we've talked about a lot, is getting the kids out in the real world. I think that's extremely exciting, and it's moved from a class during the day to things going on outside of school as well as over the summer. And one thing that I kind of shared with you before I'd like to consider is possibly putting it on Schedule B. And I would propose beginning to pay like 4 units for it to begin with. A unit is $580. Next year is $589. So it'd be 589 times 4. So $2,358 to begin with, and see where it goes from there. Potentially it grows, and we see what that looks like. But I think it's important enough and good enough product that it's something that we need to fund. So
One thing I didn't mention that we probably should is that they applied for a grant, and the grant purchased a lot of equipment for us. So we worked with Brent and got 5 iPads and a really nice camera and tripods and all of those things through grant money from the foundation. So they're equipped with
like
really nice
Brent was
equipment.
mentioning,
Yeah.
maybe some of the students through the Ramp Fanatics class will be able to, in the future, work with him to live stream some of these events.
I would love that. and let me just say, sorry.
Big brother is watching.
I've been chomping at the bit to chime in on this. I cannot say enough good things about Kelly and Ram Fanatic and the work they're doing. I handed over the digital signage to them, and I came in for an hour, and I told them basically what it is. These are the TVs that are spread throughout our high school and our middle school and our elementary. And I just kind of gave it to them and said, here, take it and do what you want to do with it. And it's the best that it's been, if you ask me, for as long as I've seen a digital signage. They do such creative and neat things, and they're featuring other students. They're in the know, so they've got all the information. It's just fantastic. So mad props to them on that. And yeah, would love to get them more involved with live streaming and things of that nature too. So well done, Kelly and everyone else.
And I do think it's good to note that they are paid internships. Which
Yes,
I
they
think
are
is,
paid internships.
I think it's very positive. I think that's important as well.
Yeah. And they went through an application process. They met with all of the businesses. They toured them. They did all that. So
Yeah,
it's really cool.
I'm working with Mayflower Photography and the Junkyard Cafe.
Yeah, I'm with Sensibly Chic and Pudges. And then Lily is with Art on the Fly and The Stitch. Yeah.
So is this just like social media? Is that what you focus on?
That's what we're focused on right now, I guess. Like we have the Twitter and Instagram and Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
but we're open to expanding.
So I
that.
had a lady this week comment that we have a channel, like a TV channel, right?
Yeah.
And so
very much.
I just wonder, is that something you guys could be involved in?
It is. It is. Brent has kind of shown us that. We have not taken it on quite yet, but we have the capability.
Because she missed, we called it the quill when I was in school, what was in the paper. She kind of missed that because she doesn't feel as an older lady. She doesn't have anybody in the school district, and so she doesn't see anything.
And the one thing that I don't know, Jefferson Telecom, and maybe you can help me with this, Brent. Jefferson Telecom used to broadcast things for Channel 9 and Channel 23 through our system. But when they moved to digital, did that go away?
Correct. So it didn't go away, but the capabilities, unfortunately, are are a little bit more limited with what we can do with it. So for instance, they were doing live video and audio with it, and the new system does not support that. It's more slideshow stuff. And you can do some audio stuff, but again, it's not quite as robust as what we had before. But the system we had before was so antiquated and it was so expensive that it was something we were going to pay a bunch of money to replace, or we would have to potentially shift to something else. And we work with the phone company, and what we have now isn't bad. It's just we don't quite have as much as we had before. So,
But in the works.
But that could be
we'll
something
get some
investigated.
stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Follow us.
That's
The
great.
kids are doing amazing content. I mean, they're
Follow
putting a lot of
Facebook page, I'm in
I'd
charge of
recommend
the
it be something
Facebook
to
page.
It's all at the bottom of the
So this,
sheet.
basically, we have no
My only concern
one
is that
heading this program up officially being paid, correct?
Not yet.
Not current.
Because like I think of Sarah Stott who worked on murals. Also, I'm like, should we paid her more?
Embry Riddle, is that
That's my
in
only
Florida?
concern.
Yeah, it is. Every road, Aaron,
I'll deal with that.
Is that where you're going?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to.
Nice.
If you want to take it into consideration and
Oh,
do it,
yeah.
address it in the meeting.
Yeah, you can actually see the speedway from a catwalk on campus, and it's right there.
Yeah, I'm going to Iowa State.
I'll be honest with you, it could tie in with,
Right on Lincoln Way.
I'm looking at discussion esports as a little.
Yeah, when we were at that internship thing, me and Lauren, we were like, yeah, Iowa State, we're going for this. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm
You
going
can
to
address
Florida
it
for
next
space flight operations.
Because That's what I'm looking at for the
Yeah,
work
like-
session next month is esports.
Well, you can get your pilot's license down there too.
I'm working on it, yeah.
Cool.
I think we need to
That's
present
definitely
it
something I want to
conceptually.
have. Maybe a toy in the future, just fly around.
Yeah, kind of an expensive toy.
Yeah.
We can bring it back at the May morning, yeah, May
Good job.
meeting, yes.
For the work session.
Let's plan to do that.
We're gonna talk about potentially adding it to Schedule B at the May meeting, so.
Great. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. My question, have you live tweeted at a golf match, though? I don't know that I've seen.
We have not.
I did a golf preview video.
Yes,
I saw that. They did bathing weeks at the end.
Go to soccer.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll try that, Mr. Chris.
Hey, golf's my sport, that's what I want to see.
All right, well.
Fundraiser request.
We've got
Yeah, just
advanced government course that again, they do different projects and everything, and each group usually has a fundraiser.
So are these ready-made up baskets, or they make the baskets up? I just have questions as far as that goes. You know,
It looked to me like they were getting donations to make the
Right.
baskets. And then
so they're gonna make they're getting the donations, and then they're gonna decide what goes in the basket
I
and
believe so.
figure out how to pay for it.
I believe so.
Okay.
Awesome.
Motion to approve the fundraising goal of $200 for,
Yeah, I'll move to approve the fundraiser request by Ms. Creighton.
Second.
move to second, please call the roll.
Fisher.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Harper.
Aye. Couple change orders, middle school renovation, basically these are the SSR funding.
Yeah, we received, again, these three were not in the original project. It's updating the HVAC in the locker room and actually adding air conditioning, which it doesn't have now. Updating the former office area and the auditorium. But we received a ton of money through federal government. ESSER 2 is $780,000, I believe. And again, a big portion of it is to mitigate COVID, so you can update HVAC air quality. So these are change orders to go into the existing project, but they're paid for through federal funds. And you had to get them okayed. Any capital project over $5,000, you have to get approval from the state. So I have gotten approval for the three of these, so we can move forward with that. So it's just a matter of approving the change order so we can get this coming.
Move to approve the change order, the middle school renovation as stated.
Second.
Second to approve the middle school change orders. Please call the roll.
McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Denhart.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Harper.
Aye. So extending on that, summer projects,
Yeah, we're looking at, summer projects we're looking at, is purchasing a new school bus. And Robert started getting bids, probably 95 to 105,000, neighborhood. New van, because we transport kids lots of places for special ed purposes. JCB, looking at trading in one of our existing JCBs and purchasing a new one that, depending on which one we trade in, it's either 74 or 76,000. Looking at a mower / tractor, and you want to speak to that maybe a little bit, Sean?
Yeah, we're looking at getting a wide area mower, and our initial thoughts was to get something that would be multiple seasons, so we could have a power broom or a snow blower on it. The problem we ran into last year at the high school is the way that snow drifts in there, that the front doors are just always blocked with any snow and any wind at all. We were fortunate this year that Hinkle Construction bailed us out several different times on getting them front doors open, and then just the mowing in general. We've added such we were probably close to 30 acres last year. Now with the new practice fields going in, we're going to be over 50 to 55 acres, and it's just very time consuming on the equipment that we have currently.
And you're looking at 90 to 100,000 is what you're thinking at for a.
Yeah, the total package was several pieces of equipment.
Any questions on that? Anybody?
so the Jacobson unit that you talked about, is that through readers or is that?
No, they're not a dealer. It'd be out of Des Moines.
So you're driving one the other day, so.
JCB, you're talking?
JCB would be out
Yeah,
of.
I think you're,
No,
he was thinking mower, or you're thinking mower. JCB through readers, correct?
Yes.
No, I was asking about the Jacobson too, because I saw that.
Oh, okay.
Somebody
Sorry.
was mowing the golf course with one, so I thought maybe.
Okay.
Either.
Yeah, there's
No
no
real problem being able to hire enough help to use smaller units, and that's kind of why we have a capital expense for a bigger unit, so we can get the mowing done.
There was really, our options locally in county are kind of limited with the, Kubota doesn't make a wide area mower. They make something similar to what we're currently using. So that's, we did look at county first before we went out.
Then also looking at carpet replacement at the elementary, just slowly over years, floor machine and carpet extractor at the elementary. Continue to do some carpet at the middle school. We need to do some work on the walk-in freezer. Need to replace flooring that had asbestos, so we tore that out. That's just concrete now. We need to put flooring in there. And then a core switch in the district technology. And then again, ESSER funds, just going through this. We're looking at the 3 change orders that you just approved. Then the 48,000 above that is for controls to run those. They were originally pneumatic with compressor and everything, but with redoing the system, that's not an option, so we changed that. And I've also gotten approval from the state, replace elementary gym heat pump is something that was on our list. And then 3 classroom heat pumps. And then looking at replacing, we've got Chromebooks that are out of, at the end of this year will no longer be supported that we need to approve. Looking at elementary Clever Touch displays and carts at the elementary, and then teacher Chromebooks as well that we're looking at purchasing with ESSER funds. We'd just like to, again, have board approval to move forward with those.
Question, motion?
So we need a motion to approve the expense of the summer projects or just the projects? Okay.
Expense and yes, and
All
then
right. Okay, I'll move that we approve the projects for summer and the ESSR purchases as stated.
Second.
We moved and seconded to approve the summer projects and purchases as outlined in this. Please call the roll.
Wilson.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Benhart.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Garber.
Aye. So basically, that's gonna have Clever Dutch boards from high school all the way down. We initially thought we were just gonna have them in high school.
Correct.
And we were able to get some additional funding. Now we're gonna go, which is really amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Board policy review, 605.4 to 605.7.
My initial review of those and also talking to Brent Gersema, there's some technology related in there. Did not see any changes. We'd actually made some changes to the technology policies last January as well. So we kind of updated those as well.
Motion.
Do we need to just approve them as stated then? Okay, I'll move we approve the board policy 605.4 through 605.7 as they have said before. Yeah. Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the board policy review, 605.4 to 605.7. Please call the roll.
Benhart.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Garber.
Aye. Leave of absence request.
I've had a leave of absence request from Cassie Bardole, which you can see there. That it would be my recommendation that the board approve it. From a financial perspective, we're not out because it's still the total cost of salary. It's docked the cost of a substitute is what that looks like.
And she was one of the resignations.
Correct.
Going into next year.
Next year,
So looking at replacing that position.
So you recommend this?
I'd recommend the board approve it.
I move that we approve the leave of absence request by Cassie Bardole.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the leave of absence request. Please call the roll.
Fisher.
Aye.
Benhart.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Garber.
All right, we're down to your report.
Nobody mentioned it, but today is Administrative Assistant Appreciation Day. And I want to, Denise isn't here, but these are the people that really run the show. I say that in all honesty. I really appreciate every single thing that they do. They do a fantastic job and do not get recognized for that enough. And, that's my fault, but they do a fantastic job. So appreciate the work they do. Catherine mentioned we had a wellness meeting here about 3 weeks ago. What we've got going on right now that we've got about 75 staff members involved in it. It's called Catch Life 30 Challenge. As a district, we're paying $11 per person to do that. You get a link in the morning texted to you that has an informational video. Today was about exercise. And you need to schedule that exercise. You record. We're recording. They want you to get 7 hours of sleep, so you record what you're getting there. Eating fruits, vegetables, drinking 64 ounces of water. There's some social emotional concepts or components as well. So you kind of keep track of that. We're in teams of 10 or 11. And there's going to be some prizes for the top couple teams, but I think it's a positive venture. I've heard a lot of good things from people who are involved in it right now, and hopefully we can do something like that in the future too. But just trying to get people involved that are involved in that to kind of go into summer with some positive notes and everything. So that's something going on. Biggest thing that we're doing right now, and a couple of people mentioned it, but we've got those ESSER 2 funds that, again, we're about $780,000. We're also now have ESSER 3 funds, which is $1.6 million.
What?
Yes.
Tax dollars at work.
$1.6 million.
That is some of the same stuff you got with your farming. Some check came from,
Yeah, that's obscene too.
it is.
It is, it's all obscene,
Where did it
yeah.
come from?
Actually, it's
I know.
I say it's 1.8 million.
Pretty impressive.
Again, all of it tied directly to, it's got to be COVID related in terms of
Right.
catching up with learning gaps. We are able to do, and it's got to be spent by June 30th of 2023. So we've got basically 2 years to spend it. But we'll be able to take, there was a Chromebook purchase here, but we'll be able to do Chromebooks for the next couple of years.
Oh.
We're looking at, we did some heat pumps, but the plan would be, the document that these guys looked at here last week, originally we were looking at stuff over 10 years. We'll look at heat pumps
Move
over
it
the
up.
next 3 years, basically,
Right.
to replace heat pumps at the elementary. But we're looking a lot at, what does summer school look like? What does summer enrichment look like? Maybe summer enrichment camps. We're looking at, had conversations about interventionists, to help with math. And again, all this stuff is 2 year money, but we're cranking out ideas and having discussions what the best way to spend these funds are, and best bang for a buck, because it's 2 year money and it's gone. So doing a lot of work with that. And then the last thing, I kind of talked to these two gentlemen about scholarships, that they're going to work on getting those. And scholarship night is
I have no idea.
it's the Tuesday before.
I think that
Tuesday before, so.
It's the 23rd. Yeah, so track back. It's that Tuesday. So.
I only knew that.
Scholarships are online
Oh.
now.
Yeah, the scholarship process is online. That's why these guys need to go online, and they're gonna look through the applications and pick who they approve. So.
Did you feel like that was, I don't know if you're the person to ask, better, more efficient? The scholarship application?
From my perspective, it is, because my goal in this whole thing is you're the student applying for the scholarship, and the person who's given the scholarship, you guys are directly connected. And as a school, we're out of it. We're just facilitating the process.
I think next year is going to be even better. It was short time. I felt like
There's some bugs.
for some kids, and yeah, it was like a month they had to get it done. I know that sounds like a lot of time, but hopefully next year.
The one thing that, and again, it's a catch-22. There's some experienced people that still prefer to look at stuff on paper. That I know that they're looking at it on computer and they're printing it all off and they're looking at it on paper.
Yeah.
You can say, oh, that's what he's trying to say politely.
I'll be looking at that with my knee on the steering wheel.
So, there's,
Yeah.
And before as a school district, we were printing 500 copies. Now it's, if they want to print it, they can. If they don't, they can look at it on computer.
I think it'll be better.
So,
And you just put out, for the kid, like when Sadie did it, she just put out a mass, she wrote a letter or whatever, filled it out and sent it out to all the applications that she was.
the one nice thing that I like about it is it's a basic application that can be put in all these folders. Before, it was still a basic application, but as a student, I had to type scholarship X on this one. And I got to, and then if I got 15 scholarships and then I put the wrong one, submit the wrong one, then if I'm looking at it, I'm saying, you didn't give me the right application, throw the garbage. So I think that's better.
Ruth Broman has her hand up. Sorry, not to interrupt again.
I would like to say something about this because obviously this is coming from my office. So I'm the one that deals with this every year. This was something that Tim and I had discussed last summer after COVID hit and the school closed down. What happens every year is that the kids have to print off every copy of every scholarship that they want to apply for. And like said, they have to put the name on the top of each scholarship. Those are put in a file, and then that file comes into the main office, and Jackie and I, with help at times, end up having to alphabetize them, going through each application, making sure it's in the correct folder, documenting that each student has applied for which scholarship, putting those scholarships in packets, and then delivering them probably about 90% of the packets, and then mailing the rest of the 10%. With that hitting, and Tim and I talked about, would this be something that maybe would be beneficial to do online? Most college scholarship forms and national state scholarship forms are online. So we decided to go that way. With the issues with COVID, school becoming difficult, trying to figure out how to leave, help the students and everything, it was kind of put on the back burner. So I talked to Tim a little later in the year, probably at Christmas break, if I remember correctly. And then Tim and Brent started working on this. It was at that point that Teresa Green and I looked at the application, rewrote the application to bring it up to more current standards from what people were looking for rather than what the original application was, which I don't know when it was created. And then we went through all of the separate applications that didn't use the generic form to look at similar questions and then also add that into the application. So what it ended up doing was probably it did make the application longer, but it ended up simplifying more of the forms that local aid scholarships wanted. And then there were just little pieces that needed to be added, like an essay here or a question there. From that, I will say Brent did an absolutely fantastic job of putting that together and creating a web-based page where the kids could just literally go on, look at the scholarship applications. He created the tutorial of how to do this. He created the tutorial of how to submit it. And then Teresa and I asked several students to try this out and see what happened. The kids felt that this was easy. They saw it, they understood it, they worked on it, they basically enjoyed the whole process, if Teresa would agree with that. But what we ended up doing was then opening it up to the students so that once you have that basic application done and not wasting time or waiting until the last minute, which we have literally had happen over the years, they actually were able to load it up, get it on their line, get it placed in there. And then it was, Brent took the time and the consideration to upload it into the mainframe of the organizations. The biggest issue we've had this year, and it is no one's fault, is the fact that this is something new. You're trying to teach people how to set up an account, how to access it, how to look at it. And it is hard for a lot of people because, let's be realistic, not all of us are literate in the computer world. So we're learning as we're going. We're getting it. I've been in contact with numerous organizations. We've been printing some off that they need it. We have been emailing it to some that have needed it. I have set up additional meetings with people. I've even offered, after everything calms down, that I will be more than happy to sit down with them and set up their accounts so that they can see it next year. I honestly believe that next year will be better. It will work smoother, but I could not have done this without the help of Brent. I
think it'll be great, Miss Roman. I think it'll be great. Thank you for doing that.
I don't think people realize how great Brent has helped made things so much easier. For me
Fantastic.
because
You should pay him.
I don't think it's
He is good. You're right.
Thank you, Ruth.
So I wish to thank Brent. I thank Mr. Christensen for the idea, and I really thank Ms. Green for helping me come up with the questions that needed to be on these applications. So I think it's going to be a good thing in the future. It's just in the rough stages now.
It was good.
Thank you.
I call the meeting adjourned.
Thank you.